Ah, so you felt it too, didn't you? That itch under your skin, that hume in your bones that something's shifting. You've been walking the same road, same cracks in the pavement, same shadows chasing your heels, and suddenly the air feels heavier, like the universe is holding its breath. Funny thing, how everything around you keeps looking the same, but inside it's a riot, a slow, crawling chaos whispering, "This ain't it anymore." But of course you ignore it, dress it up as boredom or stress or just a phase. Cute, real cute. As if your soul hasn't been kicking the walls, screaming at you to look up, pay attention. All right, you want the chaos wrapped in clarity, the scream tucked inside a whisper, the warning dressed as a smile. So here we go. One foot in the familiar, one toe dipped in madness, where everything you've ever known starts to itch under the skin like it doesn't belong there anymore. See when your daily routine begins to feel like a straitjacket? When your friends start to sound like noise and your laughter tastes hollow? That's not burnout. It's a silent knock on a locked door. The problem? Most people keep pretending they don't hear it. They crank up the volume of life just to drown out the whisper that says, something's off. Everything looks the same, but nothing feels right. You wake up, brush your teeth, eat your breakfast, check your phone, ding, ding, dopamine hit. And yet, there's a splinter in your brain, a tiny voice humming a funeral song for your current life. It's subtle. It doesn't scream. It creeps. It poisons your joy with just enough doubt to make you question if this is all there is. That's not depression. That's not confusion. That's a celestial disturbance, a divine glitch in your matrix. A little note slipped under your consciousness that says this chapter is done. But instead of turning the page, you sit there staring at the period, waiting for it to become a comma. You start to hate things you used to love. You scroll through your past like an old playlist and none of the songs hit anymore. You go to the places that once made your heart race and now they feel like tombstones with your name on them. Your job starts feeling like a waiting room. Your city smells like a lie. Your mirror starts asking questions your mouth can't answer. But instead of accepting that the map has changed, you hold it up to the sky, hoping the stars will rearrange themselves to fit your old destination. They won't. Stars don't negotiate with fear. And it gets worse. The more you ignore it, the louder it gets. Not in sound, but in discomfort. People you loved start fading like old photographs. Conversations turn into monologues. Laughter feels like performance. You start rehearsing your emotions like lines in a bad play. Because deep down, you know the act is over, but you're still wearing the costume. And every time you look in the mirror, you don't recognize the character you're pretending to be. So you distract yourself with work, with social media, with validation, with success. You build a castle around your discomfort and decorate it with achievements. But the echo remains, the echo that keeps saying, this isn't it. This isn't you. This isn't home. And every time you lie to yourself to keep things the same, a part of your soul files for divorce. You keep custody of the body, but the spirit, it starts packing its bags. You feel guilty, don't you, for wanting more, for questioning everything that once made sense, for entertaining the idea that maybe, just maybe, the life you built was never meant to last. But guilt is the prison guard of comfort zones. It wants to keep you locked in familiarity because the unknown terrifies it. So it whispers lies like you're being ungrateful or you'll regret leaving. But here's the joke. Staying will cost you more than leaving ever could. And then it happens. A glitch, a moment, a sign. You see something, hear something, read something, and it feels like it was aimed straight at your forehead. You don't know why it hits you the way it does, but suddenly your body reacts like it just heard a secret it was never supposed to know. And everything around you starts unraveling like a cheap thread, not to destroy you, but to release you. Because the illusion is breaking. And behind that illusion is your real path, the one with blood, sweat, heartbreak, rebirth, and truth. People won't understand. They'll call it a phase, a breakdown, a crisis. They'll ask why you're throwing it all away, but they weren't awake when the whisper came. They didn't hear the voice in the silence. They didn't feel the cold chill when your soul decided it was done shrinking to fit a life that no longer made sense. You did. You heard it. And now everything familiar feels foreign, not because you're broken, but because you're finally waking up from the dream they told you to love. Of course, you want the truth tucked beneath a grin, don't you? Let's talk about the divine wrecking ball, the slow, creeping demolition of the old self, the version of you that learned how to smile with broken teeth and call it a win, the version of you that performed normal so well you forgot you were acting. People don't get it. Change doesn't knock politely. It shows up like a fire in the attic and waits for you to smell the smoke. Most of you light candles and call it ambiance. You romanticize your suffering, dress it up with filters and quotes, and pretend the ceiling isn't sagging under the weight of all the lies you told yourself just to stay comfortable. But when God's about to flip your world upside down, He doesn't ask for your permission. He doesn't send a polite email. He starts snatching things, not because He's cruel, not because He's bored, but because you got too cozy in your own cage. So the job starts to feel like cement. The relationship starts rotting from the inside. The dreams you thought you buried start clawing their way up like something undead. And everything you thought was stable starts to twitch with instability. It's not bad luck, it's not karma. It's divine disruption, a holy chaos. The kind that turns fake peace into real confrontation. You think it's a breakdown, but it's not. It's a wake-up call, a slap with cosmic fingers. You've been sleeping through your own life, and now the alarms are screaming. But you keep hitting snooze, because facing the truth means admitting the mask never fit in the first place. It means acknowledging that maybe you were never meant to fit in that box you spent years decorating. And that terrifies you, because if you don't know who you are outside of the role you've been playing, then who the hell are you? But the divine doesn't care about your fear. It cares about your becoming. So it starts stripping everything that no longer serves you, piece by piece. It looks cruel from the outside, like some kind of punishment, but what's really happening is excavation. Your soul is digging its way out of the rubble you called stability. And oh, it's messy. You'll cry, you'll scream, you'll bargain, you'll ask for your old life back like a hostage negotiating with the truth. But the truth doesn't negotiate, it waits. It watches. And it keeps unraveling your illusions until you've got no choice but to face yourself in the ruins. People around you won't understand. They'll try to patch up your cracks, hand you glue and tell you to smile. But you're not broken. You're being remade. There's a difference. One demands pity. The other demands fire. And fire doesn't ask for applause. It just burns. It consumes. And it leaves only what's real behind. So yeah, you'll feel like you're losing your mind. You'll lose friends. You'll lose comfort, maybe even your sense of identity. But what you're really losing is the lie, the performance, the version of you that was acceptable to others but unacceptable to your soul. That's the sacrifice. That's the cost. You want transformation? It's not an upgrade, it's an obliteration. You don't get to keep the comfort and the calling. One has to die for the other to live. And most people, they cling to the corpse because they don't have the stomach to bury it. But if you can sit in the fire long enough, if you can survive the shedding, the confusion, the silence, you'll start to notice something, a flicker, a pulse, a whisper in the ashes. Not a voice from above, but from within. And it won't sound like thunder. It'll sound like something ancient remembering itself. That's the real you. The one they couldn't control, the one life tried to domesticate, the one you buried under expectations and fear. It's a resurrection, but not the kind with trumpets and fanfare. This is the kind that happens in the dark, when no one's watching, when you're on your knees, bleeding questions, and all you have is the echo of a God who tore your life apart not to punish you, but to prepare you for what? For the version of you that couldn't exist until the old one died. For the path that required emptiness before it could be filled. For the path that required emptiness before it could be filled. For the next chapter that couldn't be written until you burned the last one to ash. Oh, you're still here. Perfect. Because now we get to talk about something really funny. Silence. Not the quiet kind you get in a library or a graveyard, no. I'm talking about that silence. The one that follows you like a shadow after you pray, scream, beg, cry, and nothing, absolutely nothing, answers back. That aching stillness where you start wondering if God muted the line or just hung up completely. And everyone tells you just have faith like it's some magic spell you chant 3 times and poof, clarity. But what they don't tell you is that silence is part of the message. See, you think silence means absence, but what if it's preparation? What if it's divine tension? The kind that stretches you so thin, you finally snap out of your illusion that you're in control. Oh, how cute, thinking you were ever steering this thing. You weren't driving. You were sitting in the backseat of a car you didn't build, trying to read a map you didn't draw, and yelling at the driver for taking a route you didn't recognize. But guess what? Sometimes silence is the detour. Sometimes silence is the lesson. Sometimes silence is the only way to make you shut up long enough to hear what you've been ignoring all along. Do you ever notice how loud your mind gets when God goes quiet? The thoughts, the doubts, the guilt, the memories, the what-ifs, all of it crawling up your spine like rats in the dark. And you keep trying to swat them away with affirmations and motivational quotes, but it's too late. They're already inside. So you distract yourself, you numb, you scroll, you pretend. But eventually, when the noise dies down, when the distraction loses its taste, you're left with one thing, that damn silence, still there, staring back at you like a mirror you can't break. And somewhere in that silence, something starts whispering. Not from the outside, from inside, from beneath the rubble of your ego, your plans, your image. It's subtle, almost imperceptible. It doesn't beg, it doesn't shout, it simply waits. Because truth doesn't chase. It doesn't need to. It already knows it's the only thing real. So while you run in circles, chasing comfort, chasing closure, chasing applause, the truth just sits there, smiling, knowing you'll come back eventually. The silence, it's not punishment, it's not distance, it's transformation. You just don't like the pace. You want instant answers, quick fixes, microwave miracles. But this isn't a drive-through. This is a slow-cooked undoing, a divine dismantling of everything that kept you from seeing the real picture. Because if God answered every prayer on command, you'd never learn to listen. You'd treat the divine like a vending machine. Insert need, receive, miracle. But silence forces you to grow ears beneath your ears, eyes behind your eyes, faith without evidence, trust without proof, and that's where the real madness begins. Because in the absence of clear signs, you start creating your own. You start thinking every coincidence is a message, every delay is a denial, every moment of waiting is wasted. And that's the punchline, isn't it? That your obsession with certainty keeps you from embracing mystery. You want a manual, but life hands you riddles. You want closure, life gives you echoes. And the worst part? You still show up day after day, prayer after prayer, tear after tear, hoping someone, anyone, is listening on the other end. That's the real act of faith, showing up in the silence, bleeding belief into a void, laughing through the unanswered questions. So the next time you sit in that silence, don't rush to escape it. Don't fill it with noise. Don't decorate it with distractions. Let it stretch you. Let it expose you. Let it burn away the version of you that only believed when things made sense. That version was never going to survive where you're headed. That version needed applause. This one learns to dance in the dark, to trust without a script, to walk through fog with open hands. Because that silence, it's not the end. It's the cocoon. And inside it, something's breaking down and building up all at once. Something wild, something sacred, something real. You ever notice how people love to build cages for themselves and call it safety? Hilarious. They run around clutching their little dreams like brittle glass, terrified to drop them, scared to change course, because, oh no, what if they fail? What if they look stupid? What if it doesn't work? So they stay, stuck, frozen, wearing invisible chains and calling it stability. But here's the joke. Deep down, they know they're rotting in place. They smell the decay. They just put on more perfume and keep smiling for the audience. Bravo. Brilliant. A standing ovation for slow suicide dressed in polite routine. The path is calling, and it's not the one you've memorized. It's messy. It's crooked. It doesn't come with a GPS, but it's real. And real, oh, real is terrifying. Real doesn't coddle your comfort zone. It doesn't flatter your fears. It doesn't hand you a map with guaranteed success stamped in gold. No. It whispers to you in moments of stillness when the fake laughs die down and the noise finally fades. That whisper, that's the new path, the one no one claps for. Yet, people think the call to change is going to sound like a choir of angels or some divine trumpet blasting in the sky. No, it's more like a twitch in your gut that won't shut up. A quiet pull when you're alone with your thoughts, that tiny voice that says, this isn't it. But instead of listening, most folks crank up the volume of their distractions. Scroll, swipe, click, post, numb, anything but feel. Anything but face the truth, that the life they've built is too small for the soul they've been hiding. So what do? They ignore the signs, the relationships that start feeling like shackles, the job that drains more than it gives, the dream that once fit like a glove but now feels like a straitjacket. They pretend not to notice, because if they admit the truth, they'll have to do something about it. And doing something, that's risky. That requires burning bridges, tearing down facades, walking away from applause. And most people, they're addicted to applause. They need it like oxygen. But applause doesn't mean alignment. Just because the crowd is cheering doesn't mean you're on the right stage. You want to know the punchline? The new path doesn't care about your image. It'll wreck everything you built out of fear just to rebuild you with faith. It'll strip you raw. No masks, no titles, no filters, just you. Naked in purpose. And yeah, it'll hurt, because growing always does. But it's the kind of pain that frees you. Like pulling glass out of your foot. Yeah, you'll bleed, but you'll finally walk again. And don't think for a second the new path is going to wait for your approval. It moves when it moves. It shakes things up whether you're ready or not. You'll start losing things that no longer serve you. People will ghost. Plans will crumble. The identity you clung to will crack like cheap porcelain. That's not punishment. That's pruning. Making space for the next version of you. The one that doesn't shrink to fit in rooms that were never meant to hold you. You'll think you're losing everything, but really, you're being stripped of everything false, because you can't carry your baggage through new doors. You can't step into destiny while dragging your dead self behind you. The new path demands lightness. It demands trust. It demands that you move even when the ground feels like quicksand. And most of all, it demands honesty. Brutal, blood-soaked honesty about what you want, about what's not working, about who you are when no one's watching. And here's the delicious part. Once you start walking it, people will think you've lost your mind. They'll whisper, judge, distance themselves. Why? Because your courage threatens their comfort. Your leap reminds them of their cage. And instead of flying with you, they'll try to clip your wings so they feel better about staying grounded. Don't take it personal. That's just fear doing its little dance. Keep walking, eyes forward. Burn the map if you have to. The path wasn't meant to be traced. It was meant to be blazed, with ash under your nails and laughter in your lungs. Not because it's easy, but because you finally stopped pretending that comfort was enough to satisfy a soul built for more. Isn't it funny, really, how people beg for signs, but run the second one shows up? They cry out, give me a clue, a direction, anything. But when the world tilts even slightly off script, they start screaming. Why is everything falling apart? Oh, how poetic. You ask for transformation and then tremble when the cocoon starts to crack. Everyone wants change, until it shows up uninvited, barefoot and grinning, knocking down doors you swore were locked forever. They think signs are gonna come wrapped in gold, polite and tidy. But the truth is, the biggest signs wear chaos like perfume. They don't announce themselves with courtesy. They rattle your routine. They push the wrong buttons. They show up dressed as heartbreak, betrayal, breakdowns, or even silence that stretches long enough to suffocate. But underneath all that discomfort, there it is. The signal, the divine tap on your shoulder that says, this way, not that one. But of course you're too busy cursing the storm to realize it's carrying your lifeboat. Oh, and the timing? That's the real comedy, isn't it? Because these signs never show up when you're ready. Nope, they come when your ego is inflated, your plans all tidy, your ducks in a neat little row, and then a detour, a closed door, a ghosted connection. You lose the job, the lover, the illusion, and suddenly you're sitting in the wreckage, laughing nervously, asking, "Is this a joke?" Oh yes, darling, but not the kind you think. It's divine comedy, a rewrite of your little script because your story was too small. And don't forget how people ignore the obvious, the gut feeling they keep swallowing, the dream that won't shut up no matter how much logic they drown it in, the synchronicities that practically scream, "Look here, wake up!" But they call it coincidence. Cute. The truth is, most people don't want signs. They want validation for staying the same. They want a gentle pat on the head and a divine blessing on their stagnation. Please tell me I can keep living like this and still fulfill my purpose. Ha. No, sweetheart. You don't get both. You can have comfort or growth. Never both. The sign isn't just the opportunity, it's the tension, the unease, the knowing that what you're doing isn't wrong, but it's no longer right either. That middle zone where your soul starts pacing, whispering that there's more, while your mind keeps shouting, "Don't be ungrateful, look how far you've come." But deep down, you know, and pretending not to feel it, that's the real suffering. That's what eats people alive. Not failure, not rejection, but the weight of the unlived truth pressing against their chest every damn day. But here's the twist. Signs don't just speak, they strip. They tear away the things you cling to. They remove the masks and force you to stare into mirrors you've been avoiding. It's messy, ugly even, but necessary, because nothing changes until something is lost. People want new beginnings without old endings. Sweetheart, that's not how rebirth works. You have to let the old self die. The version of you built on pleasing others, chasing false dreams and numbing the ache with noise, that one has to go. And the signs, they're here too. Help with the funeral. You don't need more proof, you need more courage. The signs are already there. They're in the conversations that don't excite you anymore, in the way your energy crashes after forcing yourself to stay, in the dreams that won't let you sleep. But courage, that's the rare stuff. That's what separates the ones who break free from the ones who decorate their cages and call it home. Most people will ignore the call, tuck themselves deeper under the covers and call it peace. But peace isn't the absence of chaos. It's alignment. And alignment, it often begins with disruption. See, the new path isn't waiting for your permission, it's happening. The signs don't stop just because you're scared. They'll get louder, louder until you can't ignore them, until they burn through your distractions, until the fake smile cracks, until the job feels like a tomb, until pretending becomes more painful than risking it all. That's when people finally move, not because it's easy, but because staying becomes unbearable. That's when they say, "This can't be it," and finally mean it. And what's on the other side, that's the punchline. That's the part they don't tell you. Because no one can draw you a map to your own becoming. It's not a path, it's a plunge. A mad, laughing, trembling dive into the unknown with nothing but faith and fire in your eyes. The signs will keep coming, louder, closer, until the noise becomes a melody you can't ignore, pulling you towards something that terrifies and excites you in the same breath. Oh, so you think you're not qualified, huh? Not ready? Not worthy? Classic. It's always the ones with the most fire in their bones who doubt if they can handle the flame. Let me tell you something about qualified. That's a costume. A mask people wear to play pretend in a world built on paper crowns and empty applause. The truth is, the most dangerous, the most transformative, the most alive people, they weren't qualified either. They were cracked, messy, flawed, but they were willing to move while everyone else waited for permission that never comes. You think heaven is looking for perfect resumes? You think purpose checks your grades, your popularity, your polished little image before calling your name? Oh no, my friend. The ones who get chosen are the ones everyone else overlooked. The ones limping through the fire, the ones with shaking hands but stubborn hearts. The ones who keep going, not because they're ready, but because something inside won't shut up. That voice that whispers, more. There's more for you than this. That's not madness. That's the call. The call never goes to the most obvious. It doesn't knock on the loudest door. It shows up for the ones hiding in corners, questioning everything, praying silently for a sign. And the sign is this: it chose you anyway. It looked past the addiction, the broken relationships, the failures you wear like chains. You ever notice how the world sleeps through its own revolution? How the ones with dreams keep hitting snooze like the alarm clock is lying to them? They say they want change, purpose, peace, whatever word helps them sleep better at night. But come sunrise, they're wrapped in bed sheets like a cocoon of excuses, as if staying under the covers protects them from the life they're avoiding. But the truth? The truth drips in at 5 a.m., when the streets are quiet, when no one's watching, when the battle between who you are and who you could be starts ticking like a bomb in your chest. Comfort is the enemy of discipline, not a rival, not a distraction, an enemy. Oh, it's got a soft face, sure, cozy voice, smells like your favorite blanket and whispers things like just 5 more minutes and you deserve it. But behind that gentle tone is a knife to your throat and a leash around your potential. See, comfort doesn't knock on your door yelling, it sneaks in, offers you coffee, and slowly rearranges your priorities while you're too numb to notice. You think you're choosing rest, balance, kindness to yourself. But what you're really choosing is to delay your own evolution. Discipline is violent, it's ruthless, it doesn't care how you feel. And that's the problem. People want discipline to feel good. They want it to be cute, inspirational, all sunshine and progress photos. But discipline shows up when you're tired, when your body's aching, when your mind is screaming for a break. And you know what comfort says in that moment? It says, you've done enough. It says, you can catch up tomorrow. It says, this one little detour won't ruin everything. But it's lying. Because every time you let comfort win, you teach your mind that escaping hard things is okay. You train yourself to fold. That's the game. And most people don't even realize they're playing it. They think they're making conscious decisions. They think they're choosing peace. But it's not peace. It's sedation, numbing, rot, disguised as rest. They wake up late, miss their shot, scroll through lives they wish they had and say it's just not my time yet. No, it was your time. It just came wrapped in discomfort, and you threw it back like it was trash. The alarm clock isn't the enemy. The bed isn't the enemy. The real villain is the part of you that negotiates with excuses before your eyes are even fully open. That part that calculates how much longer you can stay comfortable before the consequences start catching up. And here's the twisted part. It feels smart. It feels reasonable. You think you're in control, but the moment comfort starts running the show, you're no longer making decisions, you're avoiding them. Discipline isn't a schedule or a checklist. It's a war against your own softness, against the voice that wants to coast, against the craving for ease. And the battlefield? It's every quiet morning when no one's watching, when there's no applause, no audience, no pressure, just you, a cold floor, a tired body, and a decision. That's where empires are built. Not in the spotlight, not during the hype. In the moments where choosing discomfort feels like betrayal to everything inside you screaming to stay safe. But people don't want that kind of truth. They want hacks, tricks, motivation in a bottle, something to make the pain go away. They don't want to be told that comfort is killing them slowly. They want to be told they can have both, that they can grow without sacrifice, that they can evolve without bleeding a little. But that's a fantasy, and comfort sells it cheap. Comfort wants you predictable, easy to manage. Disciplined people, they're dangerous. They say no when everyone else is clapping yes. They wake up before the lies start. They train before the fear gets loud. They move when others are still debating, not because it's fun, not because it feels good, but because they've buried the part of themselves that believed comfort was ever a reward. Every dream has a cost, and comfort raises the price every time you hesitate. It feeds on your potential. It loves your almost. It celebrates your I was going to. And it thrives when you confuse feeling good with being good. It doesn't need to destroy you, it just needs you to hit snooze. One more time, again and again, until one day you don't even hear the alarm anymore. That's when it wins. Not with fire and chaos, but with silence, with softness, with that slow, steady drip of decisions made from a warm pillow and a tired excuse. Discipline doesn't have to yell, it just has to show up day after day, before comfort wakes up, before fear finishes its coffee, before the world starts selling you on why today can wait. Comfort will always be easier, more seductive, smoother on the tongue. But discipline is the monster that eats weakness for breakfast and doesn't ask for applause. It's not pretty, it's not poetic, but it's the only thing that gets you out of the pit you built with your own hands and called home. Mornings expose what the night tries to hide. Oh, the night is clever, seductive even. It paints everything in soft shadows and whispers lies through neon lights and scrolling screens. It tells you you're fine, that you'll do it tomorrow, that your mess is manageable in the dark. Because at night, everything feels far away. Your fears, your failures, your responsibility, it's all just noise in the background while you slip deeper into that cozy little trance where nothing is urgent and everything can wait. But the morning has no filter. The morning throws open the curtains and shows you the mirror you've been avoiding. No mood lighting, no distraction, no mask, just you, raw, unprepared, unedited. That's why people hate mornings. Not because they're tired, please. They've stayed up for far less. No, they hate what the morning reveals. The undone tasks, the broken promises to themselves, the dreams that sounded so noble at night but now look like dead weight in the daylight. Because when the world's still quiet and you're the only one awake, there's no one left to blame. It's funny, isn't it? How at night we're philosophers, visionaries, revolutionaries in our heads. We plan empires and build futures all from the safety of a pillow. But come morning, we forget, we flinch, we negotiate. All that confidence melts into maybe later. The same person who swore they'd conquer the world after one more sleep now can't even conquer the blanket, because the truth isn't in the promises you make in the dark. It's in the action you take when the alarm dares you to move. Morning doesn't care about your intentions. It doesn't care how fired up you were at 2 a.m. or how many motivational quotes you saved. It cares about movement, about blood pumping, about decisions made in silence when no one is clapping. And that silence, it's brutal. It echoes with every excuse you've made, every shortcut you've taken. That silence is where your demons wake up too, yawning and stretching, ready to talk you out of everything again, because the night didn't kill them, it just rocked them to sleep. The truth is, if you want to know who someone really is, don't watch them at midnight. Watch them at dawn. Watch how they face the cold. Watch what they do before the world demands it of them. That's who they are. That's the raw version. No filters, no caffeine, no validation, just instinct, just will. Just the quiet war between who they were yesterday and who they say they want to be today. The night is for illusions. That's where comfort lives, where fantasy thrives, where you believe you're the exception to the rule, where your ego whispers that you'll rise without climbing, win without bleeding, change without breaking. But the morning calls that bluff. It hands you the mirror, the list, the weight, and says, let's see what you've really got. And most people, they look away. They hide. They roll over and pretend the mirror isn't there. But if you stare into that mirror long enough, if you let the honesty hit you before the distractions kick in, something shifts. You stop needing hype. You stop waiting for motivation. You realize the morning is yours, not rented, not borrowed, yours. The hours before the world wakes up belong to the bold, the broken, the ones mad enough to face themselves before anyone else can. That's where real work happens. That's where habits are born and identities are rewritten. But see, the world doesn't want you to know that. The world wants you tired, late, reactive. It wants you waking up already behind, already scrolling, already chasing. It wants the morning to feel like punishment, so you keep sleeping through your power. Because if you actually owned the morning, you'd be unstoppable. You'd be ahead while they're still dreaming. You'd be building while they're still doubting. And that terrifies people. That's why your bed feels heavier in the morning, why the air feels colder, why your brain screams for 5 more minutes. It's not just physical, it's psychological warfare. It's the resistance putting on its best suit and doing everything it can to delay your rise, because once you're up, really up, the illusion shatters. The fog lifts, and now it's just you, time, and the truth you were too scared to face last night. Mornings don't lie. They don't flatter. They don't wait. They rip the mask off and say, here's where you actually are, not where you wish you were, not where you could be. Here, now, what are you gonna do with this? And most people, they don't answer. They pretend they didn't hear it. They drown it in noise, in comfort, in routine. But for the few who do answer, who face that mirror with trembling hands and say, let's begin, the morning becomes their weapon, their edge, their throne made of fire and cold steel and ugly truth that no longer scares them. The world belongs to those who move before it wakes. That's the secret no one wants to admit. While everyone else is tangled up in sheets and fantasies, the real players are already moving pieces on the board. Quietly, precisely, no spotlights, no applause, just grit under their fingernails and war in their breath. Because before the noise kicks in, before the world throws its chaos at you, there's this sacred little window where everything is still possible. Most people sleep through that window. They miss it. Every single day, they roll over and trade progress for pillows, power for comfort. And while they're snoozing, someone else is already up, sharpening their blade, writing their story, stacking small wins that no one sees, but everyone eventually feels. That's the game. You either rule the morning or the morning rules you. And once it's gone, you don't get it back. Not really. You can fake it later, but you're already chasing. Early movers. They don't wait for permission. They don't need mood lighting or good vibes. They act while the dreamers are still dreaming. That's why they win. Because while others are preparing to prepare, they've already taken the shot. See, there's something ruthless about the early hours. No distractions, no messages, no validation, just raw time. You either waste it or you turn it into something sharp, something that cuts through the rest of the day like a blade through butter. The early ones, they're not motivated. They're not inspired. They're angry, restless, obsessed. They don't care how they feel. They just move because they know that in those quiet hours they can't be stopped. They don't have to defend their goals, explain their madness, or compete for attention. It's just them and the clock. No filters, no noise, just war. But the rest, they think they've got time. They think the day starts when the sun says so. They think success waits until they're fully awake and perfectly aligned. But the ones who win, they take time. They don't wait for energy. They create it. They don't wait for peace. They carve it out of silence. And that silence, it's loud. It tells the truth. It whispers everything you've been ignoring. That's why most people run from it. That's why they sleep through it. They don't want to face the version of themselves that wakes up before the lies kick in. That version's too real, too raw, too honest. It remembers the promises you broke. It hears the excuses you dressed up as wisdom. It feels the weight of what you could have been by now. And if you stand in front of that version too long, you might actually change. And that scares people more than failure. So they stay asleep, not just in bed, but in life, dreaming through their potential, hitting snooze on their purpose. But not you, right? You're here, listening, twitching with discomfort, because something inside you knows it's true. You've felt it, that whisper at 4:47 a.m. That itch in your chest before the alarm, that burning guilt that screams, get up, move, it's happening now or never. And what did you do? Did you rise? Or did you roll over and pretend you didn't hear it? Because here's the thing, every day, the world resets. And it doesn't care who you were yesterday. It doesn't care about your intentions, your pain, your plans. It only sees who shows up first, who dares to move while everyone else is sleeping, who plants seeds before the sun's even out. The world doesn't give you what you deserve. It gives you what you claim while no one's watching. So if you're still waiting for the perfect morning, the right energy, the green light from the universe, you've already lost. Because someone else, somewhere, already beat you to it. They already bled for it, already built when no one was clapping, already decided they were done being average while you were still looking for a sign. And by the time you wake up, they're 10 steps ahead. Not because they're better, but because they move. The world isn't handed to the strongest or the smartest. It's handed to the bold. The ones who act while others dream. The ones who run while others rest. The ones who treat every morning like a battlefield and show up swinging before the sun can blink. Because when you move before the world wakes, you don't just beat the day. You own it. Excuses are loudest when the alarm rings. That's when they show up, uninvited, dressed in logic, dripping with concern. You need more rest. You were up late. You've earned this. They're polite at first, gentle, like a nurse offering a sedative right before surgery. But make no mistake, they're not there to help you recover. They're there to make sure you never operate at full capacity. You think it's about sleep? You think this war is biological? No, it's psychological sabotage. And it starts before you even open your eyes. Your mind wakes up swinging, not because you're weak, but because it knows what the day will demand if you get up and actually face it. And instead of lacing up and going to war, most people reach for the covers like they're bulletproof armor. They think they're protecting themselves when really they're surrendering before the first shot's even fired. The alarm isn't just noise, it's a threat. It threatens the life your laziness promised you. It threatens comfort. It threatens denial. That little beeping beast dares to say, now. And excuses, oh, they hate now, they love later, they live in tomorrow, they thrive in just 5 more minutes. That's their kingdom. That's where they turn warriors and kings into cowards. And you know the worst part? The excuses don't even have to be true to work. They just have to feel reasonable. That's the trick. They don't come with devil horns. They show up wearing your voice. They sound like self-care, like balance, like strategy, but strip them down and you'll find fear. Fear dressed in bathrobes, doubt sipping herbal tea, resistance pretending to be your best friend, whispering, hey, it's okay, you've done enough, you're tired. You'll do better tomorrow, but tomorrow's a liar, and it never brings what today demands. You ever notice how the excuses change depending on what you need to do? Funny, huh? One day it's, I need more sleep. The next it's, I don't feel inspired. Then it's, I'm too busy, or I need a break. But if your house was on fire, you wouldn't need motivation to run. You'd move instantly because pain overrides comfort. But growth is quieter than fire. It doesn't scream, it whispers. So when it's time to rise for growth, your brain tries to convince you it's not that serious, that it can wait, that life's not on fire yet. But by the time it is, it's too late to rebuild from ashes. People wait for some magical morning when everything lines up, when they feel strong, focused, rested, motivated. But that morning doesn't exist. You either act despite the noise in your head, or you drown in it. The people you admire, they didn't get up because they felt good. They got up because they made war with their excuses and decided not to lose. But let's be honest, it's easier not to fight. It's easier to blame the weather, the schedule, the mood. It's easier to scroll for motivation than to create momentum. It's easier to believe you're one tip, one video, one secret away from finally changing rather than admit you already know what needs to be done. And you do. You know. That's why the excuses are so loud, because you're so close to doing something that actually matters. Because you're so close to doing something that actually matters. Excuses are loudest right before the breakthrough. That's when they panic. That's when they double down. They know if you rise this time, you might not come back. If you break the habit today, you might never believe their lies again. So they get aggressive, desperate. They pull out guilt, shame, fatigue, even logic, anything to keep you in bed. Because if you win this round, the game changes and they lose their grip. You want to know who someone is? Don't watch them on their best day. Watch what they do when the alarm goes off and the excuses start chanting. That's the real them, the raw them, no filters, no audience, just instinct. And most people, they fold. Not because they're weak, but because they're untrained. They've spent years feeding their excuses and starving their discipline. And now they can't tell the difference between rest and retreat, comfort and decay. But if you can stand in that moment, if you can stare your excuses in the face and not blink, something breaks. Not in you, in them. That's when the voice starts losing power. That's when the lies don't sting like they used to. That's when the alarm becomes less of a threat and more of a challenge. A reminder that every single time you get up when your mind says no, you're becoming someone it can't control anymore. And eventually the excuses get quieter. Not because they disappear, but because you stopped giving them the microphone. You stopped listening. You stopped negotiating. You get up, not because you feel like it, but because you don't feel like letting your weakness win again. And that right there, that where everything starts to change. Your future is begging you to get out of bed. Not politely, not softly. It's screaming, clawing at the inside of your chest while you lie there bargaining with time you don't even own. It's not waiting with a warm smile and open arms. It's pacing back and forth, fists clenched, asking why you keep choosing the snooze button over your own damn potential. Every minute you spend tangled in sheets is a minute your future self is stuck, starving in a timeline you keep postponing. You think it's about rest, about being tired? Please. You've stayed up till 3 a.m. for nonsense. You've been wide awake for gossip, dopamine, drama, screens, flashing empty promises. But ask you to rise for your own transformation? Suddenly you're exhausted. Convenient. Your body isn't tired, your spirit is suffocating. It's bored of your patterns, your loops, your rehearsed excuses that sound more like lullabies than logic. You're not resting. You're hiding. And every time you hide under that blanket, the future you, yes, the one with the results, the respect, the discipline, the fire, gets pushed back a little further, a little dimmer, a little angrier, because that version of you isn't just waiting, it's working in your mind, in your heart, dragging itself through the chaos you refuse to enter. It's grinding in the dark corners of your thoughts while you delay, deflect, distract. You keep saying one day, and it keeps screaming today. Do you think your future will arrive gently, dressed in success and applause? No. It'll show up bruised, bleeding, tired of fighting battles you wouldn't even start. And when it arrives, it's not going to congratulate you for resting. It's going to ask why you let so many mornings die without even trying to resuscitate them. Why you kept closing your eyes when the world needed you awake. That version of you isn't mythical. It's not in the clouds. It's right behind this moment, one decision away. But you keep rolling over. You know what's funny? You've imagined your dream life 100 times. The wealth, the freedom, the power. And yet, the first real test between you and all of that? A cold floor and a loud clock. And you lose, repeatedly, not to a monster, not to a catastrophe, but to the comfort of a mattress, to your own soft resistance, dressed up as logic. The battle for your legacy starts when your eyes open, and right now, your legacy is losing to cotton sheets. No one's going to come drag you out. There's no magic hand that's going to lift you into discipline. You either move or you rot. And don't mistake stillness for peace. Peace is earned. Stillness is often decay in disguise. The more you delay, the heavier it gets. Your dreams turn into weights. Your goals turn into guilt. The things you once wanted with fire become burdens you carry with shame. Not because they changed, but because you didn't. Your future is bleeding potential, and you're just lying there, feeding its silence, letting the clock chew up your opportunity one tick at a time. You keep thinking you'll flip the switch one day as if that moment will just happen. It won't. You build it slowly, painfully, consistently, And it starts with the most boring, brutal, honest act of them all, getting up, standing up, showing up when no one sees, no one claps, no one cares. That's the part that writes the future. And that voice in your head, the one telling you it's fine, you'll do better tomorrow, that voice doesn't care about you. It's not your friend. It's not protecting you. It's sedating you. Because it knows the moment you start stacking mornings, the moment you stop hitting snooze on your soul, everything changes. You get dangerous, focused, unstoppable. And that voice, it gets scared because its whole job is to keep you average. But you weren't built for average. You feel it, that fire, that itch, that tension between who you are and who you could be if you just got up and started. That's not anxiety. That's your future banging on the walls of your comfort zone, yelling at you to wake up, stand up, move. Every morning you stay in bed is a vote for who you've always been. Every morning you rise, no matter how messy, how late, how tired, that's a vote for who you might become. And you better believe your future is watching, not someday, now. It's watching the way you hesitate, the way you flinch at discomfort, the way you shrink from cold air and quiet challenges, and every time you choose sleep over strategy, comfort over clarity, it takes another step back. Not because it's abandoning you, but because it can't meet you where you refuse to go. You want the life? Then rise to meet it. Hammer. And I'll see you on the... You want the crown? Then stop bowing to blankets. You want the fire? Then earn it before the world wakes up.